Hey everybody, wanted to do a follow-up to yesterday's video, specifically the one about suffering. I've had a lot of questions about this actually, and a lot of responses to it, and got a bug flying my beard there. They told me yesterday, a man told me yesterday in the comments that Christianity's not there to take away your suffering. It's kind of, I'm not sure if he said it, but it's kind of like to find meaning in your suffering. And I agree with that. But I want to first get into the difference between pain and suffering. You know, pain is like a reaction or a physical response to an event that occurs. Usually, obviously, a really negative event. While suffering is the way we deal with our belief system, our judgments about, and the way we cope with the pain, the overwhelming pain, usually. And it could be physical, mental, or spiritual. I said that I was saved by God and that I haven't suffered a day since. Now, I have been in horrible pain. Horrible pain. I mean, I'm 5 years past when I'm supposed to have my back surgery to have a, if you know anything about spinal fusions, they graft your spine together, and then I had the bottom two discs taken out, and they told me that anywhere from 5 to 10 years after that I would have to have the next level up at least done, because that gets weakened over time and then you have to have it done. Well, I'm coming up on about 15 years here now, so yeah, I'm dealing with the pain, and the doctor is my great doctor. You know, he's like, you know, it's basically about when you're becoming, when I can't walk anymore is when I need that surgery. Because I asked him, I was like, how much pain am I dealing with until I'm supposed to get this? He says, yeah, it's all about when you're immobile, when you can't get out of bed, can't move off the floor. So I'm waiting for that fun day. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun pain right there. But my back pain brought upon suffering. And the suffering is our response to that pain. And this is why I'm saying I haven't suffered in the past year and a half. It's probably a little bit more than a year and a half now, since November of 2022. I have not suffered one day, even though I've had deaths in the family. I've had, you know, sickness. My parents both very, very ill. And my grandmother passing away. I've been sad. I obviously mourned my grandmother, and I feel bad that everyone who has to go through suffering is going through it. But for me, though I feel the pain, I do not suffer. And that is because I really do think there's a capital S suffering and there's a lowercase s suffering. And so I guess I have technically had some lowercase f suffering, lowercase s suffering. And I don't know if there's really any way of getting by that. That's just going to be, but that's just really so close to actual just pain itself. But God showed me so much to where I don't have to go through that suffering anymore. So when I have something bad happen to me that hurts a lot, when I'm in agony from my back pain, or when I'm grieving, or when I'm feeling bad for others going through suffering and knowing how bad it must be for them. That used to put me through tremendous suffering. I used to be sick over it. Sometimes it was so bad, not from my own pain usually, although sometimes it was to the point where I was going to almost throw up from it, but more from worrying about others that I love. So I made myself sick over these things, and I went through capital S suffering. And I guess there's not really a way of getting rid of suffering completely, especially, you know, that lowercase s suffering, because there's always going to be things that happen to where we just can't cope with them. But I'm telling you that God took away my suffering because he gave me hope. It brings me back to a thing called the rat hope experiment. I'm going to walk a little bit since there's people coming, and I don't like shooting my videos right in front of people. The rat hope experiment was where they put a bunch of rats in a little container that started filling up with water. And the first set of rats they did was they all just gave up and drowned within about 15 minutes because they just left them in there. It might have been a little bit longer than that, but it wasn't long. So the next rat experiment, and I'm probably butchering this, but the general point I'm going to hopefully get across. The next rats they put in there, and then as they were about to give up, they took them out and dried them off and gave them some food and gave them some rest, and put them back in again. And those rats swam for hours and hours and hours, and they would not give up. They just weren't, they had hope. So with hope, you can get through anything. So since God gave me the hope and he showed me there's an afterlife, one thing, not scared of death anymore. That is the root of all fear in my opinion. He showed me the meaning for my suffering, that I was meant to go through every single bit of it for a lesson to help other people, so I'd have kind of credibility in helping them. So there's a meaning to my suffering. And he showed me so much more that really just gave me so much hope, because that's my purpose, to spread it to others, to spread that light to others who were feeling hopeless and alone. So yes, suffering is still going to exist. And yes, you'll go through tremendous suffering, especially before you find God and connect with God and learn his language, because that's what we have to do to get to him. A lot of times it's the key to getting to him. But after we find him, after, in my case, the Holy Spirit filled my body, filled my soul. Let me get this spider out. A lot of bugs out today. Bug season. In my case, that took away all my suffering. And that suffering was a response to all the pain that I had. So when the response is, I know God's got this, I know no longer am I going to suffer in vain, no longer do I have to worry about death, no longer do I have to worry about any of it. because God told me not to worry. God told me he's got this. Don't sit up all night worrying about finances, worrying about how you're going to pay your bills. Sure, you got to work still, but he tells me what to do and when to do it. Not every single thing in life, okay? I'm not going to him saying, what am I having for dinner, God? Obviously, you make smaller choices for yourself. For the bigger choices, I ask God, and he lets me know. And if he does not let me know, that's also a sign. So I take it as a lesson, and I try to assess the situation and do the best that I can to what I would think that he would want. Because blessed are those who have not seen and believe. Those who have not connected with God and have seen God and still can have the faith, some stronger faith than I do. I want to say my faith is eternal, and I really feel that way, but I know that there are things that could happen in life where it could crack or it could even break, maybe. I don't like to think about that. I don't like to think about that at all. That's the one thing I do now, is everything I can to strengthen my faith. That's why I try to reaffirm my faith through watching accounts of others having their connections with God, their spiritual awakenings. I really love near-death experiences. I really love watching those, all kinds of those, because those give me tremendous hope and reaffirm my faith and strengthen my faith. And it can always be strengthened. It's never strong enough. We are imperfect people, and we're always going to be imperfect. So we must always be humble and work on our faith. That's all for today. I better get going. It's hot out here, and I still got my winter weight on. I like to keep it on all year long because it's just too much of a hassle to get rid of it and bring it back every winter for our 2 weeks of winter in North Carolina. Okay, God bless you all. Love you.